So you are welcome to the part 4 of working capital, where we are looking at payable management. But before we move on to payable management, we want to conclude on the question that we were solving and where we had option 2 to deal with. So the question read that for option 2, so for option 2, what the question tells us is that the administration by a factor of Oscar's invoicing, sales and accounting, and receivable collections and receivable collection on non-recurring basis. And one thing you should remember is that anytime there is non-recurring basis, it means the entity is saved from bad debt. Is saved from bad debt, which means that the bad debt is an additional benefit. Then it says that the factor will charge 1.5 of the credit sales per year. And it says that the administration cost and the average trade receivable collection period will be as option 1. So nothing will change. In option 1, it was 30 days. Here too, it is 30 days. So it looks as if nothing will change, nothing at all. So it means the answers that we had in option 1 will be the same as the answers that we have in this option 2. Because initially, when we worked it, we had 375,900 for step up to step 2, right? Up to step 2, yeah. So we go in and work in our step 3, which is also the same as the option 1. All right. So if I remember correctly, our figures was 214,400. So you do your step, but we will do it again just in case you just punch on this video rather than going to the part 3 before coming here. All right, but it says that Oscar will be required to accept an advance of 80% of the credit sales when invoices are raised. Okay, so 80% of credit sales when invoices are raised at an interest of 9%. So now it means that normally we are told that the overdraft rate is 7%. That is what we use to do our receivable management, the overdraft rate. And they are saying that, however, because he's taking an advance payment, the interest rate is going to be 9%. So take note of that. It's going to be 9%. So 80% of the receivables that he's going to collect, that one, the interest rate has gone to 9%. So what will happen is this. What will happen is it's either we do the 9% of the 80% side, or we decide to work our 7% and do the incremental. So that is it. If you do the 80%, you can do 80% and you strike the 9% on it. You can also decide to do everything that we do, but add an incremental to the receivable amount. So the choice is ours. So what will be our step 3 and step 4? The same, nothing changed. So it means that the same 30 days, which will be equal to our X. Receivable, the trade credit was how much? When we start the question, it was 28. All right, then we are going to multiply it by what do we call it? 365 days, because that's what the question says, 365 days. All right, so that's that. They use 365 days. So when we work this, of course, it will be 365 divided by 28. You have 13 point something. So the answer 2 divided by 30 will give us our X, right? So basically that is that. That's how, because don't forget this is in million. All right, and this is still 30 days. So if you do your 365, like 365x, right? Over 28 million, you can add the zeros, then 30 divided by your answer. And that is giving me 23013, because it is in millions. 0.1369.86. That's the same thing we had initially because they said everything is the same. So step 4 should be the same. Step 4, so here you have a choice. You can either do 80% of this figure and do the 9% on it. All right. Or we can go ahead and do our 7%, then come and do an incremental of 2% on that, on the 80% side. So the choice is yours, and you can choose whichever means you would prefer. What we are going to do is to follow the steps that we've been using as usual. So as usual, we will do our 7% on 2301,369.86. All right, and 2301,369.86 by 0.07. That gives us 161,095.89. All right, so basically that is that. Then what is our step 5? Always we compare this to this, right? So let's do the comparison. And we have 214,804. You realize that is the same thing you had. And we were told that the savings too is the same. So here becomes 244,804.11. That is the same thing. But don't forget, like we said, since it's on if it is on recourse basis, you can ignore the bad debt in the analysis and make, a hypothetical explanation. But here, the bad debt is conk. It must come as a saving. And the bad debt we were told is 2.2% of 28. And if you remember, it was 560,000. All right. So when you do this make it here 8, here 0, here 4, 804.11. So this is the benefit. We now need to calculate the cost so that we can do the net benefit. So the cost herein is that, first place, they are going to get 1.5% of the credit sales, which is credit sales revenue. All right. Credit sales revenue, which is 28 million. So 0.1 is what 1.5%. So 1.5% multiplied by 28 million. That gives me like 420, 0.42, so 420,000. Then the incremental. So we are told that, so we're going to do, you see, they used credit sales. However, it's credit sales in respect of that receivable amount that we want. So it is, we are going to do 80% of this figure, 2301,369.86, 80% of it, because it's relative to that. Then you are multiplying it by the incremental 9, because they've increased it again. We did 7.57 on this, but 80% of this should go with 9%. So like I was saying, you could have just done 80% of this and done your 9%. You realize that it affects this figure before you come down. All right, so that is that. So here we are going to do only 2%, the incremental. All right, this 7% to this, that is the 2% you've not done. That is it. So we have, let's say, 0.8 of 2301,369.86 multiplied by 0.02. That is giving me 36,821.92. All right. So in all, plus 420,000, I have 45,6,821.92. So if I now compare to get my net benefit, what will it be? If I take it out of 804.11, that gives me 4 7 8 7 9 8 2 982.19. So this is what I have. All right, so we will compare it to the initial one that we did before, where we had 2 without the bad debt, and we also had to subtract, forgotten the amount yet. But so you compare the two, and I think that this one is clearly highest, because if I remember, that one was just 104 something thousand. But here is more. So it means the two options are good, but the one that is of more benefit is option 2. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's that. So what I'm going to do is to take another past question. So you go through this. Yes, this is the figure we had before. So you go through this process, you find your net benefit. Then as for the theory, like I've always said, make sure you get the manual to speed up your theory on every part of the question. I've had students who have scored 86 in FM. There was a sitting that the lowest mark in FM was actually 61 in my school. So you can be part of the good journey. All right. So that is that. So you take a look at the theoretical one. Now let's look at this particular question that came in March 2023 and find out what I remember correctly that this question has some small issues with it from the ICA perspective. But we are going to solve this question as we know, all right, with our process. Because it says that council stores PLC sells on credit terms of net 60. Do you remember what I told you that this something like this? You have to keep this thing in your diary because it's very important. It means that the credit days given for the sales is 30 days. But if the customer will pay within 10 days, he will get a discount of 2%. That's the meaning. All right. So take note of that. It is more used in the payable system. All right. Now it says that they are considering taking it to 45 days. Council annual credit sales is 500,000. So you know your credit sales is 500,000 or 500 million. And its receivable turnover days. So now you know the turnover days. Receivable days is 55 days. CFO has proposed a credit term to be revised to net of 45 days. So it means that from 55 days, they want 45 days. Although tightening the credit terms will cause annual sales to drop by an estimated 2 million. So if they do that, there will be a loss on sale of 20 million. Take note of that. So there's a loss on the sale. It says that the CFO believes that the policy change will lower the receivable turnover days to 40. So it means that the turnover days is now to 40 days. So it means in a question like this, the 45 days, the 60 days are just useless. So we are giving the days, so be careful. So which will bring some savings on investment on account receivable. So when they do that too, they will save some things. Council has a variable cost of 65% and a cost of capital of 20%. Now, watch this. You need to understand the fact that if you have done a little MA, you know you do your sales, right? Then you bring all your variable costs. So they are trying to tell you that the variable cost ratio is, so you get 0.65 on this. So you get contribution. So that tells you that for as far as there is a drop on sale, you are losing like a 0.35 drop. That's the difference between this and this, right? So basically that is that. So if your sale is going to drop, that is it. What do we do with this cost of capital? And that is where, you know, whenever we are doing receivable days, there is an overdraft rate. The overdraft rate is the cost you have to bear when you are going to borrow the money from the bank. We don't have any cost of capital in overdraft rate, cost of borrowing. But if we are going to borrow, find terms of the money, then it means that we don't have any cost of capital, but on this one. So that is that. So this is it. Of course, I've solved this question with some students before, like that is what we do. And there are some errors in the, particularly this one, in the ICA solution, because not all the information were given. All right. So as far as we are concerned, our cost of capital, which is the overdraft rate, because cost of capital also includes debt capital. Unless they are telling us that this one is to equity capital, then it means we have to find the debt one. But as far as this question is concerned, as you can see, they just want to change their receivable days, all right, and find out the effect of that. And so therefore, we will take our overdraft rate herein to be our 20%. All right, so that is that. Let's go through our process. Step one, we need to calculate the receivable days. And we need to also calculate what? The receivable amount. So that is that. The days we are given, the first days is 55 days. All right. So basically that is that. Now, we really don't have the receivable amount. So we need to use the days to cover the receivable amount. So the amount, receivable amount, which we know that it is the days, 55 days, is equal to the receivable amount that we don't know. But we have credit sales of 500 million. And the assumption of 365 days. If they don't want us to use that, they will tell us a different set of days to use. Now, so here we have 365 divided by 500. Then what we're going to do is that we take our 55, we divide it by that. All right. So in terms of million, that is giving me a very huge figure. All right. So it gives me 753,424,65.75. So 123, 123. Of course, this is not the approach ICA used, which you find very difficult to understand, but this is the best way to go about it. Then we will do our 20%. We don't have any other interest on this figure. So 0.2 of that. That is giving me 150, 156, 8,493.15. So that is what I have. All right, then I will repeat the steps again. My new receivable days is the 40. So what will be my new receivable amount? Therefore, 40 days is equal to, I don't know, still 500 million, then 365 days. So 365, 500 million. All right. So if you have this answer, you know that is what X is attached. So you do 40 divided by the answer. All right. And it is in millions. So let me convert it into millions. This one gives me 547,94520.55. Then I will do my 20% again, because that's the only figure that we have. All right. So that is that. Unless you have other information to calculate it. All right. Which, of course, herein we really don't have. All right. So here I will do my 0.2. I have 109,589,04.11. That is what I have. And as usual, what do? We do the comparisons. All right. Sometimes in a professional exam, you can also as well say that you don't have the overdraft rate in the question, so you assume your own overdraft rate. It's possible, all right? So the overdraft rate is not clear, All right, and therefore you use, but you have a cost of capital, which is an interest. So you can also assume that same then to be your interest. So when I do this, let me take it out on the 150 68493.15. So that gives me a huge figure like 410 9589.04. All right. So that is that. 123, 123. So this is the figure that you get. Then, if there are any savings, you check savings. If there isn't, then we come to the cost. We know that this thing we are doing is going to cost them 20 million already in terms of loss. So we will do the loss contribution on that. So we take a look at the past question on March 2023. And like I always say, um, this question I've worked it time and time with my students, and sometimes you need to be careful. Some of the ICA solution, you really don't get it to understand it. But like I teach you, use your steps, you'll be fine. So here it says that council stores sells stores PLC sells on credit net of 60 days. And you have to be careful. Finish reading the question. Don't say the days are 60 yet. Council's new chief thinks that the company's credit term are too lengthy, considering the industry's average is 45 days. So the industry's average is the 45 days, not council. So council annual credit sales revenue is 500. So right there you have credit sales. So you underline it if you are in the exam room. So you underline credit sales. And receivable days, so you have it, which is 55 days. So it means that the 60 is useless. That is that. Even the 45 we've read earlier is useless. And it says that the CFO wants to propose the term to be revised to 45 days. Although when it tightens it, it will reduce the annual credit sales by 20 million. So what do? It means that the next one, credit sales will be reduced by 20 million. So the revised one, our step 3 and 4, the credit sales will now be 500 million minus 20 million, which will give you that is 480, right? 480. And the receivable days for that one is how much? 45 days. So that is it. You have the information. What is the cost of capital overdraft rate? We don't have it, but we are giving a cost of capital, which is what? 20%. So that is that. So stick to the process, you'll be fine. Now, and we have given variable contribution. So if you know your contribution margin concept, you know that. So contribution margin, you know that your margin here is sales minus variable cost. So if you have your variable cost to be 0.35, then it means 0.65 rather, then it means that the impact of the contribution margin is 0.35. So this is a loss on your contribution. So that is that. So loss contribution is also 0.35 or 35%. All right, so that is that. So let's go through and do our steps as usual. Step 1. So since the informations are closer, let me do it somewhere here. So step 1, or let me just do it. Okay. So step 1, we have our receivable days, right? The days we are given, which is 55. Then we will use that to determine the receivable balance. So receivable balance, you know it. How do we do it? 55 is equal to X over 500 million is the creditors 365 days. So do it. you do that, so we have 365 divided by 500 million. So when you get this, then you do 55 over your answer. All right, that is giving me 70. These things are in millions. So let me convert it in millions because I have 75 point something. So millions. So it's 75342465.75. So 123, 123. What do we do? Overdraft, that's 20%. Or you can see, you can actually do your this is your step 2. You can actually do your step 3, deduct the and find the difference. It's the same, all right, and multiply the 20% on the difference. I think that one you will save time, but the process, I believe you should stick to your process. All right, so I will show you if you would want to do that, then you do that as well. So 20% of this one, so 0.2 will give me 150.6849.3.15. So that is what I have. 150.493. So 123, then the 684. So this is, wow, no, 93493. Then this should be here, 15. All right, so that is that. Then I do my step 3 and 4. So step 3, now the days is 40. All right, so 40 will be equal to x over, here to is 480. Don't forget 365 because it reduced their sales by that. And what will we have? So 365 over 480. I get this, then 40 divided by that. All right, so I have 52, and that one too, let me convert it to millions. That is 52,602739.73. So what I was saying was that, okay, you let me do the 20% and show you. So 0.20 multiplied by 0.20, that is giving me 105,205.20547.95. Then what do we normally do? That is 20% on this. So this is the figure. What do we normally do? When we do, we take it out, right, to be our step 5. So let me take it out. So 15,068,493.15. So I have in here something like 45 is 4547945.21. So that is what I have. Now you can also say that you won't do this 4-step process. So you will do up to this point. Then you do up to this point. You won't do the 20%. But when you do these two, you can deduct between them. So 75, 342, 465.75. Then you minus this answer that you also have. That is the step 3. So step 1, step 3. So that you take step 2 out. Okay, so that will be minus 52,602,739.73. You have 22 something. So now you can do the 20% on this figure and you should get this. All right, so point multiply by 0.20 exactly. So that is that. So you can cut the steps short by doing that. All right, so basically that is that. All right, so now that we have this, there is a loss contribution. We need to find the loss contribution. The loss is 20 million, but the loss, the impact on contribution is the 35%. So how much are we going to get? So you are going to do the loss impact on that figure that you are going to lose, the 20 million that you are going to lose. So if it is taken out of revenue, then it means that you also lost the contribution you would have had, all right, on that revenue, because that 20 is gone. And so the contribution, the profit you would have had on that one is, you should work it. And if cost of sales is 65, then it means that the gross profit part is the 35. So the part that you are losing the impact of the profit, so lost contribution, all because of that. So that is kind of your cost. You see, we've been doing this, and which one is your cost? You don't have any cost. This is your cost, the lost contribution. All right. It's not the 20 million. It is the percentage on. You realize that whilst we've been doing that, you see that in the sequence. So where is the percentage? Where is the amount that we are doing it on? If it is a discount, you have the percentage on the sales amount. If it is a factor, the factor charges percentage on the amount. This one, ask yourself, where are you getting it from? All right. So the lost contribution is the 0.35 on the 20 million that is gone. All right. So when you do that, so you have 7 million. 7 million. So you look at this. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So you look at your benefit, you look at this. What do you have? So 4.474547 945.21 minus 7 million. All right. So that gives me negative 2.55 million. Or let me open, if you open it up, it's 2452054.79. So that is what we have. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It's a negative, it's a loss. So it means that this proposal must be rejected, because the net is not a net benefit, it is a net loss. All right. So basically that is what you do. All right. So that is that. As for the theory, like as usual, go around it. So when you look at the solution, so this is the solution from the ICA page. You realize that some of the figures are not matching what we do. And so if you look at their final answer, it's not matching what we do. I was tempted to delete that from the book and do mine. But as usual, students may compare and say there's a difference. But look at their alternative solution. Don't they have the same for 2.45 we have here? So the negative. Their final answer on the negative. So basically that is that. That is that. So, I mean, you have to stick to what you know. So if you look at this one, they did something to have 1.5.93. Then they also have 157.48. So when you deduct, so this is supposed to be something like this. So these two figures, this net here, this net here. All right. So it's supposed to be 159 point or 9.93, right? Okay, that's basically what is here. So let me not do it again. So you see this one and this one, that gives you this. So exactly the same 2 here should actually be 2.45, sorry. So 45. So this is it. I mean, do what you are taught. If I ask you, do you understand these things? You tell me no. But we've been giving you an approach to use. So why not stick to that? That's all. All right. That's all. You still get your answer. But you know, some students that I've faced before will say that, but said this is what we saw in the ICA solution. It is not like that and all those things. Where in the question do you see a 0.185? Is there any 18.5 in the question? No. So how then student to ask you, say, how did they get the 0.815? I'm not the one who said their questions. My own is to teach you the process to salvage your solution. That's it. All right. So quickly, let's take a 20 minutes look at the account payable side. So, okay, there's even a question here. This one, I will leave it up to you. So where there's a bad debt situation, the cost of capital again is here. All right. So basically that is that. All right. So take a look at it. And as for my face-to-face class, bear in mind, when we meet, we are doing this question. All right. So take note of that. All right. So go through it. You can solve it. When you solve it, you can send me your solution. I will vet it for you. But if you have the book, you can go through it. All right. So basically that is that. All right. So the solutions are provided, alternative solutions are provided. So like the stages we go through, everything, take it one at a time and you'll be fine. So let's look at payable management, how we manage payable. The same ideas happen here. The payable, what we are looking at is that should we delay payment so that we can keep our cash flow? But if you do that, it will affect you. Or should we also kind of delay too long so that it may cause difficulty for the company in the long. So when you delay paying your suppliers to obtain free source of money, it has an issue. All right. So if you delay too long, also it will cause a difficulty for the company's long term. So sometimes when we say that if you pay it early, all right, your cash is going. So your cash is going. All right. So what do you want to do? All right. So if you pay early, your cash is going. So should we use the money to do certain things? Then it means that you're also giving problems between the relationship between you and your supplier. So these are the two issues. So the whole issue is about balancing. So what do you see if you delay? So by delaying, you face the problem. Supplier may refuse to supply you in future. Supplier may only supply you on cash basis. There may be loss on reputation, and we all know these things happen in general life. It's common sense. They happen. So now we want to do this illustration. Now you see, I stated here that in examination, you need to be able to calculate the cost of discount forgone. And it can be done using the same technique we did under the same receivable. Do you remember how we used to do the discount? Yeah, I think you should. When we did a formula like this, 1 plus the discount, all right, you remember, an amount left to pay all over if it is 365 days, you do 365 days. It is all of n, where we say n is the amount that has been salvaged all over one. So, I mean, remember that you can do that. So this one says that a supplier offer a discount of 2% on an invoice for 75. All right. So if you are looking for percentages, this is the one you go. But if you are looking for the amount, you work the amount. All right. So he gave 2% discount on an invoice. That is this. So this is what. So it tells you that the discount is 2% on this. So that is what you see here. If payments are made within 1 month, rather than 3 months, so it means that you'll be saving 2 months. So you see, you'll be saving 2 months, and here will be 2 months. So n, right? So that is something like this. That is what you are doing. But we are doing payable. So take note of the things we are doing. So unfortunately, you have the percentages. All right. So it says that if the overdraft rate is 10% per annum, is it financially worth it for them to accept the discount? So the other one, you are the one giving the discount. This time round, you are the one enjoying the discount. So that is that. So now look at it. If you don't take the whole thing, you are going to incur a 10%. Now, 10%. So how is it going to be? So if the discount will save you 2% on 750, 7,500, and you see here is 150. So if you take the discount, you are going to enjoy this 150. What if you decide not to take the discount, it means that that money is 10% elsewhere. So 10% elsewhere. So how is it going to be? See, the formula takes a 10 small. All right. This discount, this is a discount percentage. Good news for you is that everything has been given. But assuming you are using this same mentality, how much is it for you? So in terms of everything, you realize that you have 1 plus the discount rate, which is 2%, right? So if you want to use the monies there, you do the 2%. So here will be 150, and the amount left to pay will be what? So 7,500 minus 150 will be 3,575. So something 535. So this is in months. So you have 12 over 2. All right, that is in case the perspective of receivable. This is what we have been doing. So it will be 150 divided by, or you can say 2% over 98% is the same thing. 7350. I get this. I need to add 1 to it. Then raised to the power 6, right? Then all minus 1. So minus 1. And that is giving you something like 12.88%. So basically, that is what you are having. All right, 12.88%. So that is, if you remember, let me take you back. So that is receivable management. This is cross back, gone too far. Yeah. Oh, which one is this? I think I've gone too far. All right. I think we are here. So yeah, this is the formula I referred you to, the number of periods. All right. So basically that is that. So you realize that the discount is 12.88. That is the cost of the discount. So if the actual cost of the discount is 12.88, then the overdraft rate is 10%. So for the receivable, what would you have done? Oh, I think I've gone far. For the receivable, what would you have done? You will say, don't take the discount and don't do the discount and go to the bank. All right. That is what you do. Don't give the discount. Let the money be with the customers, and you go to the bank and get the 10%. Now we are doing payable management. So what will be your answer? So this is it. So what would be your answer? Because if it were to be the receivable, you are the one giving discount. You are the one giving our discount. All right. You are the one giving the discount. And you go to the bank to borrow at this overdraft rate. So what would you have said? You said, should we take the discount? Or should we give the discount? You say no, because if you are giving the discount, you are incurring a higher percentage than you have let the money be with the customers, and you go to the bank and bear 10% for that. But this time around, what would you do? You are the one taking the discount. So, I mean, it means that the discount is huge. I will take it, so I will accept it. So basically, you can do it this way. All right, you accept it. The cost is also 10%. Then you reverse here. You reverse this side. All right, so that is what you do. All right, so when you do that, 7,500, that will give you 125. That's all. So cost of extra funding. So you can do in terms of the rate. All right, so this is it. Then if you want to do straight, it is going to cost extra. It says that financed by overdraft for 2 extra months in order per per to pay early. So you are going to is 2 months over 12, so it tens, all right. Yeah, then you multiply. So you just do this percentage, then the amount saved over the total month, the month saved of the total month, multiply by the amount, then you realize that it is okay. So basically that is that. But you can also do this. I think if you remember this one is far easier than that. All right. So basically that's that. All right. So you go around and you saw this, and this is what I just did for you. All right. So you can use this approach. All right. Then you are fine. Okay. So there is another illustration. You go through that. All right. So you are working out, you said I work out the equivalent annual cost. That is we trying to let you do the concept of the discount again. So go through the process, do it again, and you find the percentage. All right. So that is the way you use a discount. All right. You accept a discount. Or, so the same thing we did. In receivable, we said discount, go to the bank. So this is that factor and all those things. But here, what you can do is to accept a discount to pay early. You rather accept the discount, or the bank, you go for loan at the bank to pay your supplier, or you do trade credit, or you do LC, letter of credit, or you go for commercial paper and all those things. So you can take a trade credit, all right, take the money, arrange how much you are going to be paid at each point in time. So what if it's a foreign trade? And a foreign trade is where we use the letter of credit. So if you are managing a foreign trade, then it means that you reducing the investment in foreign account receivable. So it's one of the steps. Now here you are asking for full payment or part payment. So this is receivable. So foreign account receivable. So you can ask them to pay you. Sometimes we will do this thing in risk management. All right. So basically that is that. We will do it in risk management. So if somebody buys something for you, you can ask the person to pay you the money full or in part in advance, so that exchange movement doesn't affect you. So you can call for the money in advance. All right. Okay. So that is that. And you can also do forfeiting. Forfeiting is involves purchasing a foreign account receivable from the seller by a forfeiture. What do we mean by that? Here, a forfeiture takes the risk on the transaction without recourse. So it's like you kind of take the money from somewhere other than your supplier, then other than your customer. So you take the money from somewhere in the foreign other than your customer. Your customer will rather pay the person. All right. So basically that is that. Maybe you pay some, it's like a factor, but it is outside. All right. So that is that. That is for foreign receivable. You can also ask them to give you a letter of credit. Now, a letter of credit, LC, is when the person who is buying from you abroad. So this is it. You are here in Ghana. You are the company, and your customer is in, let's say, China. You are going to give your goods to this guy for 30 days. How sure are you to pay? Let him give you a bank guarantee from his bank to your bank in Ghana. So it comes to your bank in Ghana. All right. So immediately, so let's say you are doing an export, and normally in an export, the documents makes ready earlier than even the goods getting to the destination. Immediately you get the documentation to this bank will release the money to your bank. All right. So that is that. So if it is the thing is that if you also agree it in terms of credit terms, like let's say 45 days after the goods have gotten to the place, then you are taking a guarantee from this bank. So it will be a relationship between your bank and the guarantor bank in China. So not with your customer anymore. So your customer will have to get a bank. The bank will guarantee. It is binding on the bank immediately after the documents have been supplied for him to pay the money to your bank, and then the money becomes yours. All right. So that is that. So another terminology for forfeiting, export factoring, is also there. All right. So that is that. So you have this question, and that it will be the last question that we will do here. All right. So the same approach, don't forget the same approach. It says that Marquay has this pharmaceutical plans and all these things. Here, the company manager is considering financing option for the CD equivalent of 2.5. The options are below. Supplier's credit. You see, I've told you this. See, supplier's credit. This one means that a discount of 1.5, if you're able to pay in 30 days, 10 days, but your days are 45 days. So if you are going to do the things that we do, we are going to do first with 45 days, then second with, what do we call it? 10 days. The discount is the cost, so we will do 1.5% on this value, the invoice value. So that is that. Option 2, commercial paper. We did commercial paper early in the beginning days of our financial management. So the formula is there. We will use the formula here too. All right. Then option 3 is that you obtain a loan from the bank and you'll be paying an interest. And also the loan arrangement will cost you this. So we are going to go through and do these 3 procedures, and that will end our class on payable management. All right. So that is that. We do the annual cost for each one of them. So let's take the credit day. So it means that this one, the days that will be saved will be like 35 days if you do that. So we are going to do the same concept here. All right, let me position this well. All right, we are going to do the same concept here, like the way we've done our discounts so far. And do you remember the formula? So 1 minus discount, amount left to pay, into bracket, raised to the power, what do we call it? If it is days, so this one is days, so it will be 365 days on the days saved, which is like 35 days, right? Or minus 1. So you can do that, all right? So that is that. This formula can as well be calculated like this. You can calculate it like the discount, then 1 minus the discount. That's the amount left to pay. All right, so you can do that. So when you do that, then you multiply it by, if it is 365 days, then the days saved. So you see here, I took this one out and I've done it like this. So the days saved. So the days saved, we will call it, this one will be days saved. If it is month saved, then that is that. So that is all. So if you use this approach, whichever approach that you use, this one would be 1 minus discount is 1.5. So you need to know how to calculate 1.5. So 1.5% over, all right. So sorry, this is plus over what is the one left to pay. So if you have 100 minus 1.5, that is 100, sorry, I bought division 1.5, that is 98.5. So 98.5%. All right, into bracket. Then you are doing 365 days all over 35 days minus 1. You can do that. You can also do the 1.5% divided by 98.5% here, multiplying 365 days all over 35 days. So you can do any of these things. All right, you can do any of these things. So when you do that, what will you get? So let's see. So 1.5 divided by 98.5. All right, that gives me something like 0.015. All right, multiply by 365 divided by 35. So the answer that I get here is 15.88%. So let's do the top. If you go by the top two, it's the same thing, okay? So here too will be 1.5 divided by 98.5. 1 plus that raised to the power 365 divided by 35. Then all minus 1. So this one you get something like 17. So whichever way you go around it. That is it. It's even close. It's not 17, it's like 15 point, very close. So that is that. So the best formula, I think the best, because the 35 days is coming from the difference here, all right? The best formula, I think, when it comes to the payable is this one. So you can use this one. All right, you can use this one. So the top one is, let me run it again because the figure has left my calculator. So percentage wise, amount left to pay, 1 plus answer. You're raising it to the power. You are saving 35 out of 365 days. All right, so then you minus. So you can get 17%. That's what I had. So if you check, you see there are alternative solutions. All right. So this one used 365 days. So you can do this. So you saw this method. I gave you the earlier we did another method, but the trade, like I'm saying, this is the best method for you to use. All right. It helps a lot. But if you use this thing, it doesn't. This one communicates the what do we call it? The customer side when we are doing the receivable. But this is the best for the payable. All right. So you saw that in the earlier example, I had to turn it around to have these issues. Now watch this. You can do this. So this is this part of the equation. Then you multiply by this aspect of the equation, not a raise to the power, but you bring it down. You take away this one, you take away this one. Actually, this one and this one kind of can vanish for -1 plus 1. I mean, so you bring this one down. All right, so basically that is that. So we have 15 points. Okay, so this is it. Somebody too can say they are using 360 days. All right, fine. Then that's fine. So that is the first part. The option 2 is that they are going to the bank for a commercial paper. So you need to know the formula for a commercial paper, which we did in the early days of our class. But I'll give you the formula because it is simply doing the cost being the interest. So all the interest cost plus issue cost divided by the principal amount that you are taking. Multiply by 100%. So that is how we do the commercial paper. So here, what is the interest? The interest is 18%. All right. So the money that we are doing the 18% on is 2.5 million. Then apart from that, they said that there is an issue cost totaling. So you do 18% on 2.5 million. All right. Plus issue cost of 15,000 over the principal amount of 2.5 million. All right, so that's all you are doing. That is all. Okay, so this one to the, when you punch your calculator, you have 18.6. 18.6%. So that is that. The last one is the bank loan. It's a 3-month bank loan, and the interest thereof is 20%, 22% per annum. Loan to the processing fee is, I think that one is the most easiest thing you can have because you are doing a bank loan, a 3-month bank loan. So 22% is 3 months, 3 out of 12. All right, multiply by the amount, 2.5. Then aside that, there is a processing fee of 5,000. So it will also affect the cost. So you have to express this one to as a percentage if you want to add it. So you express this one to as a percentage to find this gives 170 37,500. So that is the cost. Then there is also an issue cost of 5,000. So the same way you did, issue cost 135,500, right? Plus 5,000 all over 2,500, 2.5. All right. So plus 5 divided by 2.5. So 137,500 plus 5,000 that gives 142 divided by 2.5, 1, 2, 3. That gives 0.057. So that is a 5.7%. So which one is cheap for you? I think the bank loan is cheap. The one was 17% or 15.88. 15.88. I prefer you use the 15.88. All right. So, and that will be all. Okay. So that will be all. You go through this. Okay. So what do they have in here? I see will give you a lot of things. Was it per annum? Obviously, then that is there. So the bank loan. So this is it. You go through in here and so these are alternative answers. As you can see, they always give alternative answers. So you too can have your alternative way of going around it. I don't think they will even have I have 18.6, they have 18.59. That's kind of the same. That's an alternative. So you can use the alternatives. All right. We even did one that we had 17. They are also doing some that they have different answers. So it doesn't mean you are wrong. And that is something I need to put into your head. It doesn't mean you are wrong. This is FM. Go ahead and do what you know. All right. So that is that. So you can see they give various alternative answers. Various alternative answers. So if this thing, I think there is a problem on this one. We already did the 3 months of this. All right. So that is that. So just be careful. Do what you know. And the only thing I will add is that this one, this is per annum. See, this is per annum. Okay. This one is per quarter. So if you want to change this thing to quarter, to annum, multiply it over the 4 quarters. All right. So if I multiply it over so that it will be annum, so that we will be at par. This one is 22.8%. So it means that the very first one is even the easiest one. Okay, so that is what they've done here. All right, that is what they've done here. But I mean, if you want, you can also convert the 5,000 per annum to multiply by 4, then you work it straight. So that is that. Because this is annum, this one too was annum. I mean, this one too should be annum. Or you can divide this one by 4, this one too by 4. Then you do the comparison. All right. So looking at it, the first one is the best. All right. So that is the one with the lower cost. All right. So that is it. So when we meet again, it's cash management. Thank you very much and see you. Thank you. Bye-bye.